There's really something about taking your story and putting it on paper and then revisiting it and working through it in such a way that you leave being the character in the story to becoming the author of your story. It's powerful. And so we created Empowering Women Alliance. That's how it came. And I have a team of women that if I didn't have the team of women, we wouldn't be who we are today.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Happy Life Agenda. I'm Dani C, and I'm really, really excited to introduce you to Rhonda Peoples today. She is going to be talking to us about confronting the self-deception that is holding you back. She is the co-founder of the Empowering Women Alliance and Chief Revenue Officer at GreenMatter Biotech. So while Rhonda is a powerhouse leader, she has had to battle her own inner voice on her climb to the top and continues to take steps to unravel the lies that she feels like she's been telling herself in order to continue and grow and emerge as her authentic self and a woman living her purpose. So welcome, Rhonda. Before we get started, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what led you to start Empowering Women Alliance?
Oh, thank you. It's such an honor and just a pleasure to be with you, Dani. So what had me start Empowering Women with Words, Empowering Women Alliance, right, is I started with Empowering Women with Words. I was in a program, actually, and we had to create a project that was bigger than us. We had to be able to create a team, and we had to not know how to do it. And I was totally lost. And I had a very good friend of mine reach out to me, and she said, she was actually in the program and she was coaching, and she said, Rhonda, you need to write a book. I'm like, get the heck out of here. I don't even know how to speak proper English. I'm not going to write a book. And she goes, no. I've heard your story. You need to write a book. Right. And so then I reached out to a girlfriend of mine who has written, she hadn't published yet, but she had a lot of books that she had written. She just hadn't gone over the hump. And I said, you are never going to believe what I'm about to do. She's like, what? I'm going to write a book. And she's like, oh my gosh, this would be such a wonderful time for you to bring in your women in your community and have a book with other women. I was like, oh, like, that's it. Like, it was so easy. It was so easy. We brought together 15 women after a year process. At the end of the process, that we created from nothing. We had other women would visit us, like from writing groups and that had written books, and they would join us for a session. And they were like, I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life. And we were like, wow, like most of us women have really gone on the court of life and have coaches and have worked through our stuff and all of this. And then we found ourselves reworking through things. Like we thought like, oh gosh, I thought I had that handled, and it came up again. And so there's really something about taking your story and putting it on paper and then revisiting it and working through it in such a way that you leave being the character in the story to becoming the author of your story. It's powerful. And so we created Empowering Women Alliance. I mean, that's how it came. And I have a team of women that if I didn't have the team of women, we wouldn't be who we are today.
Oh my God. That's absolutely fantastic. I love that you really, brought, quote unquote, brought down to earth something that's very important to finding yourself and finding your purpose. And that's really being able to step outside yourself and become the observer. In this case, it's becoming the author, but that's such an important exercise in finding yourself. That's amazing. Well, as I said, I'm just thrilled to have you here. And I had the fortune to listen to you talk at your last networking event about the lies that we tell ourselves and the self-deception, and even your very personal story on this. It's, kind of the negative talk. We paint a false portrait of our past, and then we carry that with us years, sometimes decades later. And until we really dig deep into our souls and say like, oh my gosh, what are these things from my past, these conversations I'm having with myself that are keeping me stuck? So I would love for you to kind of dive into that conversation for our audience and tell us how we can overcome it and even share your story.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, gosh, at the time that I really started realizing things in my life, um, uh, I had it that I was supposed to work really hard and get a good job and work to get up really high in in whatever I was doing and be at the top of that game. And then that was it. That's what life was all about. Right. I had been groomed that way. And so I had done that in the automotive industry. And so I was making well over six figures. I was building a custom home. I was driving a Lexus. I had the purses, the shoes, right? The attitude, all of that. And I wasn't happy. And I was like, gosh, like, what am I missing? Like, what am I missing? And then I ended up getting pretty sick, diagnosed with ovarian cancer, had a hysterectomy. And during that time in the hospital, this place that I had been for 22 years, never even reached out to me to see if I was doing okay. Right. I was a top executive in this company. And so, so what ended up happening is 3 weeks after hysterectomy, I went back to work because I knew something was up. And so my second day back of half days, I was asked to come to the office and go to the HR room, which was 3 flights of stairs after me. Right. And so we're in this conversation. The bottom line is they're letting me go. Now, at this time, I had had a diagnosis of ovarian cancer. I did not know what stage it was. So my head, like I was already I don't even know if I'm going to be living. I don't just don't know where I'm at. And so really, he was very like, well, do you want us to tell you why and all this? And I'm like, obviously you've made up your mind and that's fine. I don't need to be drugged through any mud. And I walked away from a 22-year investment in my life. And, I got into when I was in my 20s. So, and I was looking at 50s and I'm like, what am I going to do? This is all I know, right? This is all I know. Like I had my whole life in the automotive industry and like I don't know anything else, right? And so, surprisingly, I ended up I was involved in e-women networking at the time. And, and I got to the point where I still couldn't even drive. And they had invited me to an event. I went to an event and there was a speaker there. And the speaker was really talking about rewriting your story and re-engaging your life and starting a new path, right? Going down the path. And so I bought her book. I bought her workbook, Diane Easley, right? I can't remember the book right now because this story is just coming, like it's just coming to me, right? And so I went home and I worked through this and I really started doing, like I was cleaning out my closet and I was like doing all this stuff. And I created my own business at the time. And it's in that I went forward and started getting involved in some courses that really had me look at my life and look at who I was being in life and look how people interpreted me in life, why I had a certain point of view in life. And I really started to unravel the world that I had created in my head that I thought I was living. I thought all of it was true, and these people were out to get me and for me, and I'm a woman in a man's world, and I had to do this, and I just had all of these lies, right? And so I really started seeing that I had created these stories in my head, and so I had an opportunity being brought through certain exercises to really identify. And one of them is when I was a kid and I was running for student council. And I remember, like, I don't remember being shy before that. I don't remember walking around with fear that people were talking about me. Like, this is the life I lived as an adult. Like, everybody was talking about me, like, seriously. And so that's the first example of like, gosh, yeah, when I was in eighth grade, and I don't remember having fear of school. I don't remember having fear of kids. And I had posters that I had done. I was going to be secretary, and we had to give a speech, right? I had my speech all written out, right? And we had to get up, in front of the entire school. And I didn't have anything about it. Like, I don't remember, like you would think if I was like, oh, fearful, that I would remember the fear. And I don't remember any of that. Like I felt like there was freedom up until that. And then we go into the auditorium. It's all the kids in school are sitting down on the floor. They got their legs crossed. They're staring up at me. There's other kids up on the big stage with us. We have this big podium, and so I walk up to the podium and I lay my note cards down, right? And I look up at the entire school. And then I wake up in the nurse's office. And I'm like, I have this sick feeling. Like, I just have this sick feeling. The nurse is, standing over me. Right. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And she's like, you passed out. I was like, I did what? I passed out the entire school. Like, you have got to be kidding me. And she was like, no, you passed out. Are you okay? Is everything okay? And immediately in my head, I said, well, I can't talk to large groups of people. That must be what happened. I just can't do it. Like, note to self, boop, don't do that again. And I implanted that right there in my brain. And then I continued to live my life like it was true. Like it was really true. And, as I'm 6'1", I'm the oldest child. So I find myself in leadership positions or executive positions or management positions, right? Whatever you call that, right? And so all this, so I have people, right? I have people. And so I'd have to stand up and give training and to get my position in the finance world, would do mock-ups in front of cameras. Like, I would black out. I had no idea what I said during those presentations. I would memorize everything. I had to get up in front of people and do presentations and all kinds of, and I would be in the bathroom until right when they called my name. Like, I would literally be walking out of the bathroom, petrified. And I thought, as long as nobody asked me a question out of sync of how I had things memorized, I was good. And I would come off stage and I would be like, oh my God. And people would say, oh my God, it was so wonderful. They would say all these things. And I would be like, you have got to be kidding me. I want to go throw up right now.
Oh my gosh.
It was incredible. And it wasn't until I was sitting in this course that it had me go back to a time when I was younger, right? And it had me identify. Now, I always knew that I passed out in front of the school. I didn't always know that I had labeled that as I can't talk to groups of people. I didn't know that. I was unaware of it, that I had done it, right? And so once I identified that, the coach said, now, when are you going to stop listening to an eighth grader?
Whoa, that's powerful.
Yeah. Right. And consider that maybe you didn't eat that morning. What if you had a virus? Maybe there's a virus going around and you were sick and you had no idea, right? It's all kids get sick all the time. Like, it's not it happens all the time. But what he did was he brought in the opportunity of other interpretations that could have happened other than the one that I had labeled, I can't talk to groups of people. It was so impactful, Dani. I'm telling you, right there in the course, I felt like a load come off my shoulders. I was like, oh my, and I got out of my head because I was always in my head. I had to memorize things. I had to make sure people thought I was perfect. I had to have it, around me are like, oh, look at her. Like, she's got it going on. Right. And I'm like, inside, I'm screaming for help. I hit it very, very well. I mean, very, very well. And so this course taught me to walk through and share these things that go on in my head for people to go, well, how did you come up with that answer from that event? Like, where did that come from? When somebody questions you, like the lie or the limiting belief or the misunderstandings that you're walking around, right? And so I really, the rest of the course, I could stand up in front of 125 people and speak with such love and clarity and gracefulness. And just, it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. You know, yeah, it's just crazy. And so I started taking things on in my life that I thought I couldn't do. I mean, I jumped out of an airplane.
Nice.
Why would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane? And I'm like, I know, right? Can. Because I couldn't, but I can. And now I'm going to go do it. Right. And I did the same thing. I joined a course, a program called DebX, right? A phenomenal course. Deb Shapiro works with women that have been sex trafficked or, caught up in all of that scene. And she helps them stand on stage and tell their stories in 8 minutes or less. Like if you could tell the world, right? Something, a passion, share a passion in 8 minutes and change people's perception, right? In that short of time. I got involved in that program. Why, you ask? Because I had already knew I had passed out. I already knew it was a lie. I already had freedom standing in front of 125 people, 200 people, 300 people. I had all of that freedom, but it was the standing on stage. We were the Tempe Center for Arts. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it has all those words in there. The alignment's probably wrong, but it's the Arts Center in Tempe, Arizona. And it's a big wooden stage and it has a huge auditorium of seats behind it, right? And there's hundreds of people that could go. And when somebody brought that up to me, like, I could feel it. I could feel it in my stomach, like, and then it just, I was like, okay, there's still something there. I'm going to take this on. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm sure I'm going to be fine. Because, see, I'm really good at faking it.
Yeah, right. Right. A perfectionist.
I faked it the whole time. I stood up there as the leader, manager, supervisor, right? And I gave orders as I was going through my talk. Right? And they were like, yeah, no. I had all my armor up there, I had put away, but I pulled it out. So yeah. And so I ended up being very successful. I had so many compliments but the bottom line is I did it. I stood in front of hundreds of people up on a big wooden stage. The podium wasn't in front of me. It was actually behind me, but I didn't have note cards. Right. And so I stood in front of people and did a presentation and really walked away even more empowered than I already do on a daily basis. And so I share that because I challenge people to challenge what you say you can't do. Because people tell me, oh, I could never do that. And I'm like, yes, you can. You choose not to. That's okay. As long as you know it's a choice, but you can do it. Now, if you choose not to, that's okay. You can choose not to. But see, I choose to take all that stuff on because I walk around life now with no limitations. Like I don't, in fact, my two business partners from GreenMatter Biotech were there and they were like, Rhonda, when you first walked out on stage, what were you feeling? I said, terrified. They're like, we know, like we see on your face, and we have never seen you like that. Like, we just believe, like, we know you as this huge person to take on everything. And then we see terror across your face. And they said, after the first 5 minutes, right, you were past it. But we don't know that about you. And it's so interesting, right? Because we all have those moments where people go, well, Dani, that's not how if you share like something, you share something and people go, oh, well, that's not who I know you to be. Right. If we get the guts to say that, because sometimes we don't say anything to people, right? We start talking and start sharing what's in our head. And then you share with somebody that you trust, that's close to you, right? That you can get that feedback. So those are the three things that I had people walk away with in my talk, is really identify. And the way to identify is just kind of look for those things that you're scared or you think that you can't do, or, whatever it is, just identify those fears, right? And then go and share why you have that fear. What do you think it is, right? Share it with somebody who will ask. Get a coach, right? Get in a program where it takes it on. Like, and has you identify it. And then, like I did, right, consider another interpretation of what happened in that event. And then that allows you to rewrite that story.
Yes.
Because I'm a great speaker and I speak from stages.
That's fantastic. I mean, this has been very engaging just talking to you now. I mean, you've definitely aced it. Like, it's such a, inspiration to everyone that's listening and watching.
Thank you.
I love it.
I could talk about it forever, because especially, I think everybody does it, not just women, but women do it more, right? It is because we were taught, don't speak unless you're spoken to. It's not proper for a woman to speak up. I mean, even now in other countries, it's not proper for a woman to speak up, right? We say in the United States that we have all the freedom to speak up, but we don't, right? Now, there's some stuff going in politics that are making women speak up, which I think is awesome.
Definitely.
Right, to make you speak up. But, we've got to learn to share and share from our experiences. And what it really allowed me, Dani, is it allowed me to recognize that you have stories also. And if I take you as a threat, or I have something about your personality or something that you said, or just something about you, because, women can be catty. And if I have something about you, it has me go back. I have now the ability, because I can love myself, who I really am, right? Not the lies and all who I'm supposed to be, but I know who I really am now. And I love that person. It allows me to love you, because I know that you're dealing with things that I have no idea about.
Absolutely. Everyone's struggling with something.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And in my book, right, Empowering Women with Words, the very first chapter is mine. And it talks about, wouldn't it be great if, like, we walked around and we would have like a page that would fall down in front of us as we met somebody, and it would just do like bullet points. Boop, 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 boop. This is what I'm dealing with. This is how I see the world. These are the events that I interpret it a certain way. And then you got to see that and you would be like, oh, I get it now. Right? We would lead with empathy and interest and conversation. We wouldn't lead with taking somebody on, or she's really snotty, or she's really this or that. I used to think that people walked around with $1,000 suits I couldn't even speak to, right? How people hide. They hide. So it's allowed me to love everybody.
That's fantastic. I like, the key thing in your story is showing up as your authentic self. And when you do that, you're able to show up with compassion and empathy to everyone that you talk to, because there's nothing to fear. You're being your true self. And now you can allow them, even if they're not there yet, to be who they are and meet them where they are.
Right.
I just recently, I've been reading Adam Grant's book, Hidden Potential. And he talks in there is like, once you, unveil that, is you can have conversations with people that it's no longer small talk. We can get rid of the small talk now and just have these really deep conversations.
Yes.
And so we don't have the piece of paper, but we're willing to share those kind of uncomfortable things that allow us to like really meet people and connect. And,
Yes.
that's the key to like vitality, better health. I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Absolutely.
really surfacing in our world these days, and people like you are bringing it out and saying like, hey, let's all do this. So how much better would the world be?
Right. And the point is that you make so perfectly is that it's my story. So somebody can say it's wrong, like, okay. I mean, believe me, there's some stuff in my stories in my book that I've shared about how I grew up and some of the sexual abuse that happened in my family. And I had my sisters like turned on me and didn't speak to me for a long time and made me very wrong. And how could I do this? And how could I shame the family? Like it was all my fault, right? If I would have took it on that way. But took it on is, we all have a perception of our life and how we grew up. Now, obviously, sexual abuse is sexual abuse, right? So it's not an interpretation, right? That is real. But how people want to interpret other people's events, right, is their thing. And so I just continued loving my sisters. I would call them, they would hang up on me, they would block me, all kinds. And I would leave messages like, in 5 years, we're not going to remember why we're not talking to each other. I don't understand why we're not talking to each other now. Why can't we work through this through conversation? Why can't we, right? These are the messages I would leave my sisters and my mother and my father. And we all have a great relationship now. We've all, moved through it, with it, like with it. I don't want to say through it because it will always be there, right? We've moved with it and learned how to accept that everybody has a different interpretation. And what I say isn't wrong. It just may not be how you remember it.
Right, right. Perception is everything.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a lot of strength and persistence. But, sharing that story tells our audience that, there's been a lot of conversation. I listen to Seth Godin a lot, and he talks about, if we can let go of the emotional attachment to the outcome and just, again, show up as who we are in those moments and what we know is right. And sometimes it's the hard thing, like calling someone over and over again that is not going to pick up the phone and saying, like, I love you and I want this. And eventually it comes around. It may not be the way you envisioned it, but now you have that relationship with your family. And that's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's been a learning process for me. And every day is a learning process. I mean, don't think that I don't run into people that like are in my face about something or their arrogance or their identities, like all right here in the conversation. And I get perturbed by it because I do, right? I'm human,
Right.
right?
We're all human.
Human.
Mm-hmm.
So we do it. The difference is that I can now recognize it, right? And then I can correct it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I can go back and clean up a conversation I had that I might have snapped back at somebody, right?
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
now I recognize and I go back and I have the ability to go clean it up with them and say, you know what, that wasn't about you, that was about me. And I'm
Yes.
right, because normally when somebody's in your face, it's not about you, it's about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. That's one of those hard things to do. And it's amazing that you've honed that skill, is to be able to go back and, say, hey, look, I was wrong. Sorry how I showed up in that moment. And again, another key trait that if all of us could kind of pick up on that, it's that compassion, it's that empathy, and recognizing we're all human and we'll make mistakes and it's okay.
Well, it's taken a lot of work, sister. Let me tell you something.
Hey, well, you're an inspiration, and your stories share that it works. It's amazing. And that's what we want to showcase here today.
Yeah.
So, well, Rhonda, it's been awesome chatting with you. Your story is so inspiring. So I think everyone could benefit from knowing more about the Empowering Women Alliance and where to find more out about that. And can you tell us a little bit where they can find you?
Absolutely. You can reach me at admin@empoweringwomenalliance.com. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Rhonda Peoples. You can reach me on Facebook. I also have a Facebook group, which is Empowering Women Alliance. Ladies, come join. It is such a positive, supportive environment that we create there. So those are several different ways to reach out to me. So thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Rhonda. And everyone, as always, thank you for tuning into the Happy Life Agenda. If you loved our conversation today, be sure to subscribe below so you can hear more of this. And also visit happylifeagenda.com, where I'll be featuring Rhonda's bio and some of the conversation from today. And I know we could have covered a lot more topics because you're such an amazing person to talk to. So I'm sure that we'll be seeing you again. Thanks again for your time today, Rhonda. I appreciate it.
Absolutely honored.